Highlights of the Brazilian Grand Prix, Sunday at 6 on BBC2. Washing machines, washing powders, but which wash is greener? A new eco-label may help us decide. Nature investigates in half an hour.
Now on to Peter Taylor reports for Public Eye.
Good evening and welcome to the last of our special Public Eye election programmes. Tonight we focus on health, the issue that, according to the latest poll, still remains the voters' main concern. This week marks the first birthday of the Conservatives' NHS reforms, which they'd always hoped would be a big vote winner, and they're still hoping. Health Secretary William Waldegrave celebrated the occasion by announcing that a further 1,400 GPs are to become fund holders, bringing to over 3,000 the number of family doctors who control their own budgets in the new market-style NHS. But that's still only around 10%. Fund holders are meant to be the engine of radical change, but the majority of GPs don't want to be driven down that road. Dr. Janet Power from Sheffield is one of nearly 25,000 GPs in England who are not fund holders. District health authorities hold the money and buy care on their behalf. She's opposed to the scheme because she believes it creates an elitist, two-tier health service. Dr. Paul Lambden, whose practice is just north of London, is a fund holder. The money he receives bypasses the health authority and comes to him directly. He's a passionate believer in the Conservatives' revolution, which he sees transforming patient care. GP funds, to hold or not to hold, that is the question, and that's what I've been examining. It's the doctor's dilemma.
Since we took on the fund holding initiative, we've been able to provide more care for more patients. So what patients have been aware of is that they're actually having to wait less time now and that more procedures are being done.
If you've got people who are shortcutting the system, who are being seen more quickly, you have to have losers. And I don't particularly want to work in a system where you create a two-tier system with winners and losers.
Dr. Paul Lambden has sliced his waiting list by 3/4. Fund holding is his knife. Not a penny is wasted. Minor ops are done at his practice, costing his budget £40 a time. In hospital, they cost 400. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Do you do many operations like this, Doctor?
We do about 20 or 25 a week.
That many?
There's a big reservoir of this sort of work, which, because the hospitals regard it as routine and non-urgent, means that patients are subjected to long waiting lists.
What's the waiting list like at a hospital for this kind of operation?
This would be a very low priority, so we would be talking about certainly a year or two.
And how long has your patient had to wait for you to do this?
When did you first come in with this?
About 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks.
Are you impressed by the speed?
Yeah, very impressed.
Good. There we are.
Dr. Lambden purrs around Cheshunt, spreading the word. He's a missionary for fund holding, a few miles north of the M25. How would you describe the area that your patients come from?
It's pretty much a general area with all types of patients in the area.
What would the political allegiance be of most of the people who live in this area?
It's just a conservative area. It's the philosophy is conservative, a lot of homeowners, a lot of socio-economic group 1, 2 and 3. That's the one there, number 7.
If you'd just like to roll over for me now. That's it. Wonderful. Super. Let's just have a little peep in there. That's fine. That actually is a very nice scar. He's done that beautifully. Pity you won't be showing too many people, really, because it's very nice. Okay. Do you want to come
Mrs. Godfrey has just had a back operation, facilitated by Dr. Lambden's power to purchase. She's another satisfied customer, one of 18,000 patients whose needs are met by the practice's 7 GPs.
30 degrees there. Is that an improvement on how it was?
Yes.
And you can sleep all right?
Yes.
Good. Mrs. Godfrey had a very bad back, and she was admitted for a spinal fusion procedure in order to relieve her back pain. She was a patient who was able to benefit from the fund holding arrangements because we actually have a visiting orthopaedic surgeon doing an additional session in the practice, and so she was able to be seen more quickly than she would otherwise have been able to be seen, and because she was urgent, we were able to arrange her admission more quickly.
What time difference are we talking about?
Well, we're now in March. Her initial appointment was actually arranged for this coming June, so she wouldn't yet even have been seen under the former arrangements.
So being a fund holder meant that the operation could be done several, months earlier?
Yes, absolutely.
Pauline Ball, Dr. Lambden, room 5.
To critics of fund holding, Dr. Lambden's practice is a temple of NHS doom, the upper tier of a 2-tier system where money buys privilege and preference. This he denies.
What fund holding does is to enable us to use it as an additional tool in which to provide good quality care for our own patient population. It doesn't introduce a 2-tier service at all.
But surely it is a 2-tier service because you are in the privileged position as a fund holder to buy care that you want, when you want, where you want.
It's the responsibility of every GP to provide the best care that he can for every one of his patients.
But you have the advantage as a fund holder.
I shall use the fund holding reforms as a way of allowing me to deliver the best care possible. Now, if that means that we have some sort of temporary edge, then it would be no more sensible to disagree with that than, for instance, to say that because a new drug became available, if it couldn't be available for every single patient on day 1, it shouldn't be introduced.
But you clearly do have the better edge, and you have it because you're a fund holder, and therefore you represent the upper tier on a 2-tier service, don't you? That's the reality of it.
No,
that's what your fund enables you to do.
No, that's not the reality of it. The reality of it is that we're interested in providing better care for more patients. And however we can achieve that, we shall achieve it.
Yeah, no problem at all. I can offer you Tuesday morning at 10.
David Scott's care was gilt-edged. Dr. Lambden's fund bought private treatment for his nose operation.
I heard from the doctor to say that I'd be sent up to the Nuffield Hospital, which was private, which I was amazed to find out why I should be going there. But he told me because the practice was fundraising that he could actually do this by allocating so much money for different types of operations. The stay was very brief, but they looked after me very, very well, and the operation was a great success.
Were you surprised when the doctor said he was going to send you to a private hospital?
I was really, yes. I thought, I hope I don't have to pay for this.
Dr. Lambden negotiated a price with the Nuffield that compared favourably with any NHS quote. That operation and others were done within a fortnight. At an NHS hospital, the wait was 18 months.
Hello, can I help you?
I wanted to see Mr. Gattaker in room 18, I think.
Yes, that's correct. Room 18. Room 18's on the first floor. If you care.
How do patients react when they arrive here and they come into reception?
Aghast, in a word. Certainly they don't expect to see the reception area as it is, more like a hotel than sort of a waiting area in a National Health Hospital. Also, when they see the patients' rooms in themselves, they are surprised that they have a single room. Somehow, even though they know they're going to a private hospital, they expect to be in an open ward. They're also surprised that they've got the coloured television and the telephone in their room, and that they get the private patients' nursing care, and they are just astounded that all this is included in the service that we're offering the fund-holding GP.
Are you after more NHS business?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to doing more business, not only with Dr. Lambden and his practice, but other fund-holding practices within the area.
What's the NHS doing supporting the private sector?
Well, we have to be clear about what's actually happening. This is not the hospital's money or the doctor's money. It's the patient's money. And it's our responsibility when we hold the patient's money to deliver the best care that we can to that patient as quickly as possible. And if that means the patient going through the private sector, then that's okay, because that means the patient gets the best treatment they can get as quickly as possible.
But you're still buying, because you're a fund holder, buying preferential care for your patient in the private sector.
No, we're buying efficient care for the patient. We're not disadvantaging anybody, therefore it cannot be preferential.
Olive Wallacheva, Robert Bye, John Cooper. Your taxi to Northwick Park is now waiting for you outside.
To NHS purists, Dr. Lambden would appear to have no shame. He even delivers his patients by taxi. The NHS hospital is 20 miles away. Dr. Lambden has used his fund to buy up some of Northwick Park's spare capacity. It's spare because the hospital has carried out all the simple surgery its district health authority has paid it to do. Olive Wallacheva has come to have her varicose veins removed.
Good morning. My name's Helen. I'm the sister on the unit. All right. What I want to do is just show you all to your beds, okay? And Olive, if you'd like to come with me, and I'll take you to your bed area now.
Hello. It's Mrs. I'm going to call you Olive because nobody can pronounce your name. How do you do? It's Peter MacDonald. We met, didn't we?
The consultant examined Mrs. Wallacheva on a previous visit to Dr. Lambden's practice. 6 weeks later, she's having the operation. Without his fund, she'd have waited 18 months.
Okay, let's stand you up. We'll just mark those out. If you lift that right up. So we'll just put a mark on there. And a mark on there. Right. And one on there. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to climb back on the bed and make yourself comfortable, and I'll be seeing you after lunch. After my lunch, not yours.
After your lunch, yes.
Okay.
Right,
See you
thank you very
later.
much. Yes,
Bye.
bye-bye.
But local GPs like Dr. Nichols, who choose not to be fund holders, don't take kindly to this exploitation of spare capacity. He too sends patients to Northwick Park. One has varicose veins. She has to wait.
She came to see me in July, which is when I referred her. She had an appointment in September, was told at that time the chances were that she would have her operation done as a day patient in either December or January. She came to see me and said that there was no sign of the operation. She had phoned up, was told that there was a wait of at least 8 or 9 months from now.
From now?
Yes.
So she will have been waiting nearly a year and a half?
Yes.
Dr. Lambden's patients can have them done in a matter of days because he can buy the operation out of his fund.
Mm.
How do you feel about that?
Personally, I feel very upset that, that this has happened.
Because you're a fund holder, aren't you able effectively to queue jump? For example, the patient that we filmed going to Northwick Park to be treated because you have been able to buy the care from Northwick Park is having her varicose veins done when there are many patients or some patients at the same hospital waiting to have the same operation done. You can do it because you've got the money. They can't. That's an advantage.
The regulations specifically prevent patients from queue jumping. The reason that we sent the patient to the hospital was quite simply that they had an empty ward, vacant spare capacity, vacant operating facilities, which would have stood empty had we not purchased them. So, by using those facilities for our patients, what we have done is achieve an improvement for the patients at no disadvantage to any other patient in the system. And indeed, we've actually improved it for the other patients by shortening the waiting list effectively by taking our patients off them.
But if you look at it through the eyes of a person who's on the waiting list at Northwick Park to have a varicose veins operation done, you are jumping the queue because that operation is being conducted because you're a fund holder. She's still having to wait.
All GPs must do the very best that they can for their patients. Every GP in this country is effectively now a fund holder. except that in our case we hold our own. In the case of the non-fund holder, it's actually the district which holds the funds. If doctors who are not holding their own funds feel that the services they are getting for their patients are inadequate, then they must go to their district and they must say to them, you're holding our funds, these are the services we wish.
Dr. Janet Power isn't a fund holder. She's a GP in Sheffield. Fund holders are a rare breed in the inner cities. She runs the practice with 4 other doctors. They hold it in trust for the people of the area.
The reason that you were having those funny zigzags and problems with your eye was because your blood pressure had gone really very, very high.
Yes.
And that they needed to get your blood pressure down.
Yes.
Now, I don't think they're going to...
Care runs through every brick in the building. Dr. Power's practice may be relatively small, with under 5,000 patients, but her workload isn't proportionately less. Her patients need time and understanding, not just an instant prescription.
Right. And they started on some drops, did they?
Pardon?
They gave you some drops, did they?
No.
Or were they were the drops that you were already on?
I'm not on any drops. I'm not on any drops.
Right.
Because I wondered, you know, one that all my life was used brassic crystals. And then I thought, now, I wonder if I dare use brassic crystals now, or whether they seem to think that they weren't things that you used now.
I think hospitals tend to think that. I mean, I think you've had a lot of...
What do you think of the care you get here?
Oh, it's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic.
Why do you say that?
Because they care. They care. This is the most important thing about this place.
I just worry that if you have this system which is demand-led, then there are going to be losers. There are going to be the people who fall outside the system, either because of disadvantage or because of illness. And nobody can adequately answer what happens to the chronically sick or the handicapped within a fund-holding system.
The Conservatives plaster their warnings on the wall outside the surgery, but Dr. Power is wedded to a non-Tory NHS. Money, she believes, would destroy her relationship with her patients, and some of them cost the NHS an awful lot. If she were a fund holder, her budget would have to carry the cost. Tell me about the patient we're going to see.
Stephen's a 29-year-old who has been on our list for about a year, and it was actually... when he first joined our list, he moved from a different doctor. And when he first joined our list, we discovered fairly quickly that there was something seriously wrong with him. And in fact, he's in chronic renal failure. And in January, he started on erythropoietin, which is a drug which is used for people in chronic renal failure who are very anemic. The problems with it are that it's horrendously expensive.
Have you any idea how much his treatment is costing?
Several £100s a month.
Right through the year?
Yeah.
So we're talking about thousands?
Thousands. How are you then?
All right, not bad.
All right. What happened when you went up to the hospital?
They kept me in because my blood pressure went up and I went to the top with my fluids.
Right.
That they've sorted me out.
Right. I see they've started you on a new drug. Is that permanently for your blood pressure?
The most expensive drugs alone cost £5,000 a year, and then there's the price of the equipment. The pressure to cost patients is great, but a fund holder like Dr. Lambden says he would never turn patients like Stephen away. How long does the dialysis take, Stephen?
4 hours.
What do you do?
I connect myself up to lines as you disconnect that, put my needles in, red into there, blow into that one, and all blood goes round here, comes out and back in, and sets myself fit again, ready to go.
If you were a fund holder, would you be thinking about the cost of Stephen's treatment to your budget?
I'd like to say no, but I think I would be. I mean, we have to face facts. Stephen's a very expensive patient, and I would have to take that into account. And unfortunately, they're hard facts.
Dr. Power's patients could not be more different from Dr. Lambden's. His are white and healthy. Hers are poor and mixed.
It has the largest
concentration of Bangladeshi people in Sheffield. It also has a large Pakistani community and also a lot of Yemeni, Malaysian, Polish people. We've even got Somalian refugees. I'm back.
Home visits often call for an interpreter. All she's heard is that a patient came from Pakistan a year ago to join her family. Apparently she fell and damaged her hip before she left. Dr. Power has to try and make sense of it all.
Hello. Yeah. Right.
Her legs are causing her lots of problems, you see.
Yeah. Whereabouts are they causing her problems?
It is on her knees especially.
On her knees?
Yes.
On her knee especially? Is it both legs?
Yes, both legs are hurting her. I mean, she can't get up, especially her left leg, you know.
Can she take weight on it at all?
No.
So how does she get about?
You
carry her about?
To carry her.
I think we need to get a specialist to look at her, to see if there's anything. I don't know if there's anything they can do to help.
Too much stomachache and she can't go to sleep all night.
Oh, right, okay.
Can you give us any medicine so she could go to sleep?
Can I come to that in a minute?
The visit requires time and patience. In the end, it's a case for special help. You suggested bringing in a physiotherapist to see her. Will it be easy to get a physiotherapist?
It would be relatively easy to get a physiotherapist, although she might have a bit of a wait because the physiotherapy, the community physiotherapy service is very overstretched.
If you were a fund holder, you could buy a physiotherapist.
I've got a physiotherapist. I've got a community physiotherapist who serves the community who'll come and see her.
But she could come and see her faster if you bought that provision.
In the short term, she may be able to come and see her quicker if I had an advantage over other doctors in the area by being a fund holder. To me, it's sensible that we have an adequate, funded community physiotherapy service so that all patients who need access to a community physiotherapy get it quickly, rather than just the fund holders. Dr. Power's waiting lists are long. With no fund to force the system, her patients have to wait just like everyone else. Not for her, the private hospital, or buying up spare capacity. The longest waiting lists are for orthopaedic problems and for non-urgent things, but things that are worrying people. Like? For example, a woman who is still waiting, she's been waiting since June last year, for an appointment to see a consultant about a problem that she's got with her eye.
I'd like my eye straightening because my own kids have noticed that it's turning into a corner a lot now, and I just want it straightening.
Why do you think you've had to wait for nearly a year to see a consultant?
I don't know. Honest, I don't know.
Kevin, you've just had a varicose veins operation.
Yeah.
How long did you have to wait for it?
Since last April.
So you had to wait nearly a year?
Yeah.
The patient you mentioned who's been waiting nearly a year for an appointment to see a consultant with regard to her eye problem, if you were a fund holder, then you could buy a consultant's time, and that consultant could see several of your other patients. You, as a fund holder, would be helping the patient directly. Why do you do that? That's the advantage, isn't it? People don't have to wait. There are undoubted advantages, but the way I see it, that it's a direct conflict between the needs of the individual and the needs of the community. And whilst being a fund holder and being able to buy that service would satisfy that individual at that point in time, it would be to the huge detriment of the vast majority of people. Because for the vast majority of people, their problems are so complex, their care needs to be so planned that for an individual to hold a budget and to buy in that way undermines the potential for planning for a community. But if you bought a consultant's time with your fund money, that consultant could not just see the person with the eye problem. He or she could see, a dozen other individuals. It's not just an individual, it's a group of individuals you could help. And they are part of the community anyway.
I think to try to, yes, that could happen. And I think that is why, for a small number of practices in areas of the country, fund holding works. I think once you have fund holding on a large scale, those benefits will probably go, because the cash limits will be much, much more rigorously enforced than they are now. The individual practice will then run out of money and won't be able to do that for all the patients who need it. Certainly in this practice I wouldn't be able from within a cash limited budget, satisfy the needs of all the patients, and then there would be losers.
The vast majority of GPs in Sheffield remain non-fund holders. Sheffield reflects the view of most GPs throughout the country, that fund holding makes nonsense of trying to plan healthcare for a community. They believe the same results can be achieved by pressurising the district health authorities who hold the funds on their behalf.
What I'm increasingly coming to think is that fund holding is just not a sensible option. It's not the best option, and there are lots more better ways of doing it. There are lots more better ways of non-fund holders actually thinking about quality of care, looking at quality of care, and inputting into the district health authority what their needs for their community are, without the inefficiency of fund holding.
But fund holding puts real power in your hands as a GP to change things, to make the system more responsive and more efficient. You can form all the committees you like and talk until the cows come home. Nothing may change. Fund holding will change things.
Fund holding will change things for some people, but fund holding will ultimately undermine the planning of healthcare across the city, and will fundamentally undermine the role that I have with my patients. They will start to see things. They will start to see their healthcare in financial terms that I really don't want to happen.
Good view.
The election is do or die for fund holding. If the Conservatives win, thousands of non-believers will be drawn reluctantly towards Dr. Lambden's standard, but the results could go the other way. What happens if a Labour government is elected and fund holding is abolished?
I think that would be a disaster, because the fund holding initiative allows us to be so innovative, to provide lots of new services for the patients, services that we couldn't provide before. If the fund holding initiative goes, we shall lose those services.
If the Conservatives got back in, I think we'd have to look at it again. But it's not something I would embrace willingly. And I would have to be really convinced that it wasn't just a short-term gain. And that's one of the tests.
April the 9th will decide whether fund holding lives and flourishes or dies, as Dr. Power hopes, after a brief, short life. But even if it doesn't survive, the legacy may be the evolution of new non-market methods that will galvanise the NHS into being more responsive to patients' needs. The so far unresolved doctor's dilemma. By this time next week, we'll all probably know the future of fund holding and the rest of the Conservatives' NHS reforms. We'll be back again on the 1st of May, when I hope you'll join us. Until then, a very happy Easter from all of us on Public Eye. Good night.
With less than a week to the election, tonight's edition of Newsnight includes interviews with Neil Kinnock and Norman Lamont. That's at 10:40.
On the 13th of April 1742, one of the world's finest oratorios had its premiere in Dublin. BBC2 celebrates 250 years of Handel's Messiah with a special performance from the Royal Hospital, Dublin, recreating with period instruments the sound and scale of the original. Handel's Messiah, performed by the 16 Choir and Orchestra and conducted by Harry Christophers, Sunday at 7:45 on BBC2.
Something is going to happen. But I won't let it. I won't let it.
Screen 2 presents Enchanted April, this Sunday at 10 o'clock.
A suburban plot by turn-of-the-century designer Gertrude Jekyll is one of the revelations in Half an Hour from the team of Gardener's World. Before that, Julian Pettifer returns with a new series of Nature, examining the ways in which the European community is taking control over Britain's environment.